just as the stream flows, so do the Squatches. I sit on the very ground that they have walked on right here. I sit on the very same ground where I found their tracks. And I sit on the very same ground where they come to interact with me. I often wonder how close they really are. I often wonder if I'm being watched. In my opinion, I don't know if they always watch. They have their own life. They have their own life to live just as we do. But we choose what we do with our time. I believe they do too. They have their own life. Sure, you know, there's people like me that come into the forest. Now keep in mind, there's a great amount of people that come into the forest to go fish in the lakes and streams around here. And they may be curious. They take notice of that. But one thing they take notice more of is the same person that comes here all the time. They observe that individual. They want to know and learn his or her intentions. And I've been coming here long enough, I do believe they know mine. I am just like them. I'm curious. I want to learn. And I have come to learn many things. You can learn a lot by their tracks, the trackways, where they flow, and the conclusions that I come up with, and the little pieces of the puzzle that I put together in some of the areas. I understand what they're doing in these areas now. And due to the interaction I've had, you know, both in the past and recent, it tells me that I'm welcome here. I know that sounds crazy, but since that encounter back in 2000, since it started, you know, back in 2014, I mean, I've been out here way before then, but it was 2014 when we've had the opportunity to really observe them. And they have observed me. They know they know I mean no harm. I really believe that I have actually come to be a part of this forest here, this area. In this general area right here, I feel very welcome and I feel at peace here. Now I can go 6 miles up the forest road in another area where I have had experiences. I do believe we're dealing with a different group 6 miles up on the ridge headed west, northwest there in the West Virginia area. I don't want to say they're aggressive, but they're more on edge. I'm sure this group here was like that, but they have observed me long enough to know. I mean, and as many, what they call habituate, I don't call it habituating. I believe it is as far as a way of gifting and by leaving things. To me, it's exchanging information. They you know, mentally, just like a wild animal. Could a wild animal ever be tamed? Sure, to a certain extent, but they're always going to be wild. Are they dangerous? Only if you put them in that position. Don't give them no reason to be dangerous. The Squatches know that man comes here to hunt. But I come here, I enjoy nature. I love being out here. I really do. You can learn more just by sitting here, observing, listening, and clearing your mind. You don't have to walk through the woods and look at every broken tree. That's not going to teach you nothing. Come on. I come across that all the time because common sense will tell you a majority of it's based off the weather and other wildlife. There's a lot that we could assume that Sasquatch did it. There's some that I believe that Sasquatch is responsible for some of the things we find. But unless we observe with our own eyes, we can't state that as fact. A lot of people are disappointed when the truth is presented to them. They get offended because they want to believe that Sasquatch did it. That's being very irresponsible and ignorant. If you cannot consider and rule out what's more logical, and if you can't think critical, then you got to stop, because you're fooling yourself and you're fooling others when you tell them otherwise. You guys hear that? Did you guys just hear that whoop? Over there where it's thick, where I went yesterday. Right over there. I heard whoop. I got a nice pine stick. I should do a tree knock. But the trees are back behind me here. Whoop. I don't know if the camera picked that up or not. But like I said, there was a whoop. There was a whoop right over here. It may have been a young one. It sounded like a soft tone whoop. That's awesome. I've always had tree knocks in here. I haven't had a whoop in here in a long time. It's been a few years. Whoop! 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 See? That's one thing that you've always done for me. When I camp over here, my camp's on the other side over here. If you go back through the woods and on the other side of the forest road, my camp's right back here. That's why I love it here. It's usually in the evenings. These squatches are more nocturnal, but like I mentioned, I have had activity here during in the middle of the day. And the squatches, when they come around, they'll let you know they're here. They really do. I mark my word, they let you know when they're here. Now, just because I heard that one whoop, that could be just one. Letting the others, there may be others around here, but that was one. Now the whoops, communication. It's communication. In some cases, and the way I observed and took the different whoops I've heard in the past, their communication to the other is saying, hey, be careful, caution. Tree knocks, communication, their location signals. Their communication and location signals. Why do I gather that information? Why do I share that? Why do I believe that? Well, from having other experiences by my responses off of tree knocks. I've had tree knock responses in other locations far from here. But this area here, the tree knocks that I gotten in responses here, 2 ridges over, in the middle of daylight, when I gave off a tree knock, within seconds, from the same ridge I just came from, down to my, looking back at that ridge, down to the left, I had a tree knock. Response to my knock. Within seconds later of that tree knock, way up on the ridge, was another loud, clear knock. No winds, dead calm, hot summer day. And that told me there was a triangle pattern. Okay, think of a triangle. You got 3 points of a triangle. I was the top point. And then the 2 bottom corners were my responses. They were letting me know where they were at. Now the question is, did they know who I was? Or did they think I was another Squatch? Most likely they knew who I was. Apparently they must have been following me. Like I mentioned yesterday, personally, I call that Sasquatch Ridge. I never mentioned it publicly because I mean, something when I put in my own notes and I make my own document notes on my in my computer. When I do my own little notes and research stuff. These are things I call them myself. I never tell you guys, okay, Sasquatch Ridge. Who's gonna know where Sasquatch Ridge is? It doesn't matter because there's only so many people that know about my research area. I mean, a lot of people have a general idea where it's at, but there's over 130,000 acres of the George Washington National Forest. Yeah, somebody else that researches in the National Forest claimed it was way less than that. It's 130,000, not 10,000. There's 130,000 plus acres of the George Washington National Forest. If you heard otherwise, then you got to do your homework. Let me jump off here and I'll be back shortly. Here's my rock collection that I leave out here. Some of you guys have already seen that one, the giant stone that looks like an arrowhead that Baltimore quoted to be possibly a directional when I first found it. This one here resembles an old hatchet head. This one here I find interesting. It looks like just in the shape of a small hatchet head. And this one here I find quite odd, but also very interesting. Some of these old stones, I like observing stones because some of them do resemble tools or stones that can be used as tools. A lot of wildlife in this area. Out of all the areas I've been to here in Virginia, this general area right here has more to learn from than any other area. Why? Because the wildlife, well, first of all, there's a lot of wildlife in this area. And the wildlife, they're very active here. There's a good amount, or a nice abundant amount of deer and all the other various wildlife here. And with them always being active and on the move, keeps the Squatches on the move. And I'll tell you what, Squatches are not going to reveal themselves that easily. I do believe the Squatches have become comfortable with me over the years. So, you know, like in the evenings, like, I don't know if you guys heard that whoop earlier, but I usually get other vocalizations or tree knocks very close to me, but they let me know they're in the area. And that way I can listen and try to look for them. Yeah, they're here. I promise you that. Now, with the camera equipment I use, and I'll state this for the record. With the equipment I use, unless one walks out in the open or really reveals themselves, you're not gonna get a Sasquatch captured on this camera, because it's a really clear high-def camera. People like to look at the other videos, like, for example, Facebook Live videos. When people go out in the woods, there's a distortion of pixels that are always moving around. And with the pixels and the distortion on these Facebook Live videos, there's dark glitches all throughout the video. Some of them are blurry, smudge-looking images. So, yeah, you're going to say, oh, there's a squatch there. No, people, it's just a distortion. There ain't no Bigfoots in no videos. People who claim to see Bigfoot every day, in every damn video, you're insulting the Sasquatch's intelligence. Think about it. Are you really putting them down? I mean, if you claim to see them every day, all the time, you're doing one of two things. Well, basically, you are doing two things. One, you're insulting them, their intelligence. Two, yeah, you're assaulting their intelligence and you're putting them down, making a squatch sound like they're stupid. Because if a squatch was really revealing themselves, then they're putting themselves in danger. I'm sorry, people, but I don't buy anyone who claims to see them every time they go out. I don't buy it. I hope you guys have enough sense and brains not to buy it either. I'm serious. I'm not joking around. I'm not joking. Because if you take Bigfooting serious, yeah, you would be a little bit more objective. Yeah, a little bit more objective, and not so quick to believe everything you hear and claim to see. It's just me. I love doing Bigfoot research, exploring nature, studying wildlife. I love it all. But my passion for Bigfoot is so strong, it upsets me for those who believe, or the ones that are just so naive and gullible to believe anything they're told without questioning. I can't state this enough. Some of you just listen because you don't know any better. Some of you just listen and go with it because you don't know how to do your own homework. You don't know how to research. You don't know how to get on the internet and read details. Search your information for what you hear. If there's any truth behind what some of the people claim out there, it's going to be documented. You're not just going to hear, well, it's documented evidence. Well, if it's documented evidence, then we should be able to find proof of that. I bet what I talk about, you could find information about. I promise you. Because I do a lot of comparison with wildlife, in general, primates. And I compare them with Sasquatch activity. And when I talk about wildlife and primates and their behaviors, it's a fact. And if you don't believe that, then you're not doing your homework. You're not doing your research. People, all I'm saying is you got to learn to be smart, critical, objective, logical, all the above, and do your own homework. If you're somebody who doesn't get out in the woods and stuff, you don't have to. There's certain information you're not going to learn out in the woods because the details, the things that come out of some people's mouth, you got to research. You got to do your own digging. Because some of these people that are making these bogus claims, regardless of where they say it comes from, if it's true information and if it's a fact, it's going to be online. It's going to be documented somewhere. You should be able to provide evidence of it and not just say that it's documented evidence, documented proof. You will find that information. Because if you're telling your followers it's documented evidence, it's proof, it's documented history, show it. Show the evidence. Because if you cannot provide it, your people that are following you, they're that stupid. They're ignorant. They're retarded. Because they're not smart enough to go look up that information for themselves. I just wish people would start questioning Bigfoot, research, wildlife. I wish people start questioning what people claim. Some, even myself. I present information out there. And I usually have, references to information. But people don't even question me. People, you need to start questioning whoever you're following, myself included. Myself included. Do not believe anything you hear. Just because somebody says, oh, I seen this, or I believe this. This is how they do it. This is how the old ways were. Show me. Show me. If that's how the old ways were, where did you learn from the old ways? Where was that? Where was the old ways documented? You get my drift? If you're saying you learned from the old ways, well, there's documented evidence about the old ways somewhere. Who told you that story? Someone who doesn't know the difference between a hole in their, their ass or a hole in the wall? I mean, seriously, people. The joke's on you if you just believe anything you hear. The joke is literally on you if you believe what you're told. The joke is on you if you're following blindly without being objective and finding proof for yourself. Because the people that you are following and hear this information from, it's just coming out of their mouth. Where are they showing it? Where is the documented evidence? They're just saying they have documented evidence, but yet they haven't showed it. When I talk about my research and my evidence, ladies and gentlemen, if you pay attention, it's all referring to known wildlife and it's documented evidence and proof. Because I compare it with what we observe and experience here in our own woods that we relate to Bigfoot. So, I hope you appreciate my babblings today, my babbling video. I had a great time sitting there by the stream. It's a little cooler than it was the other day. But I really hope you consider what I had to say. All this controlled burning up through here. You can see the forest real clear up here. But anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk with you all later.